Ambassador Zeth Karan's four eyes blinked in synchronized confusion as he stared at the holographic display floating before the assembled council. The crimson warning beacon pulsed ominously, its ancient precursor script scrolling endlessly across the projection. "This cannot be accurate," rumbled High Counselor Vexthul, his carapace clicking nervously. "The translation matrix must be malfunctioning." The elderly Sinorian archivist, Dr. Milandra, shuffled forward on her 6 spindly legs, her voice barely a whisper. "I have verified the translation 17 times, High Counselor. The warning is unambiguous." She gestured toward the floating text with one trembling appendage. "Beware the third planet. Beware the persistence of those who call themselves human. They know not surrender. They know not mercy for themselves. What they cannot accomplish with strength, they will achieve through stubborn determination. What defeats their bodies, their minds will overcome. They are the inheritors of chaos, the children of a world that tried to kill them every day for millions of years. Do not test them. Do not threaten them. Do not underestimate them. Above all, do not corner them." Final entry, Precursor Archive 7,741 inches. The massive council chamber fell silent except for the rhythmic hum of life support systems. 12 species from across the galaxy had gathered for this emergency session, their various forms of breathing, clicking and humming creating a symphony of unease. "Preposterous," declared General Korath 9, his mechanical voice echoing through his cybernetic vocal processors. "The precursors vanished 3 million years ago. These humans only achieved faster than light travel 50 of their years ago. They are primitives playing with toys they barely understand." Zeth Karan nodded agreement, his diplomatic training taking over. "The general speaks wisdom. Our intelligence reports indicate the humans possess fewer than 200 worlds, no significant military fleet, and their technology is millennia behind ours. They represent no threat to the Council's expansion into Sector 7. Dr. Milandra's antenna drooped. "But honored colleagues, the archaeological evidence is overwhelming. The precursor warnings are scattered across dozens of worlds, always mentioning the same coordinates, the same system, the same species." "Superstition," Korath 9 snorted, servo motors whirring. "The Korathians conquered 12 systems before joining the Council. The Vexthul Dominion crushed entire civilizations. What could these barely spacefaring mammals possibly do that the ancient precursors found so terrifying?" 3 months later, High Counselor Vexthul would remember those words as he watched the feeds from the first contact fleet. The humans had been polite at first, almost embarrassingly so. When the Council fleet of 300 vessels had arrived at the edge of their solar system, the human greeting had been transmitted in 17 different languages, including some the Council's xenolinguists had never encountered. "Welcome to Sol System," the message had begun. "We are honored by your presence. Please state your intentions, so we may respond appropriately." Ambassador Zeth Karan had delivered the Council's ultimatum with practiced efficiency. Immediate surrender, relocation of human populations to designated reservation worlds, and full resource extraction rights for the Council. Standard procedure for primitive species. The human response had been unusual. "We respectfully decline," came the reply from a female who identified herself as Admiral Sarah Chen. "We invite you to depart peacefully." Zeth Karan had almost laughed. A species with barely 2 centuries of industrial development was attempting to negotiate with a galactic confederation spanning 10,000 years of advancement. General Korath 9 had opened fire first. The human defense fleet had been pathetic. Perhaps 60 small vessels, none larger than a Council frigate. They should have been vaporized in minutes. The first wave of plasma cannon fire had indeed destroyed a dozen human ships instantly. Then something unprecedented happened. The humans didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. Instead, they did something the Council's tactical computers couldn't understand. They adapted. Within hours, human ships were using debris as improvised weapons, ramming council vessels with their own damaged hulks, and somehow, impossibly, their weapons began penetrating council shields. The humans were learning, evolving their tactics in real time, turning every loss into a lesson. How are they doing this? Korath 9 had demanded, as his command ship shuddered under impact from what appeared to be a human cargo vessel loaded with improvised explosives. The answer came from an intercepted human transmission. If you can't win with what you have, win with what you can make from what they leave behind. By the third day, human engineers were somehow reverse engineering council technology from battlefield wreckage. By the fifth day, they were improving upon it. Ships that had been destroyed were being rebuilt into hybrid monstrosities that combined human innovation with captured council tech. But it wasn't just the technology. It was the humans themselves. Council psychological profiles of other species showed predictable patterns: fear response, surrender protocols, self-preservation instincts. Human behavior made no sense. Pilots with fatal injuries would deliberately crash their vessels into council ships. Crews would refuse evacuation orders, choosing to fight hopeless battles rather than retreat. Even their civilians were constructing weapons and joining the fight. "They're insane," whispered Zeth Karan as he watched a child, modify mining equipment into weapon systems while her parents held defensive positions. The turning point came when the humans managed to capture one of the Council's dreadnoughts, not through superior firepower, but through the most audacious boarding action in recorded history. They had used their own space station as a weapon, detonating its reactor core to disable the dreadnought's shields, then swarming it with thousands of small craft and boarding pods. The dreadnought's AI core, designed to be impregnable, was cracked by human cybernetics specialists in 6 hours. What they found there changed everything. The humans discovered the Council's expansion plans, hundreds of worlds marked for resource optimization, billions of sentient beings scheduled for relocation. The humans realized they weren't facing a first contact scenario. They were facing genocide on a galactic scale. That's when the real war began. Dr. Milandra's warning echoed through Vexthal's mind as he watched the reports flood in. Council worlds going dark. Not from human invasion fleets, but from human ideas spreading like viruses. Species that had been council members for millennia were suddenly questioning orders, demanding independence, rising in rebellion. The humans hadn't just defended themselves. They had become something far more dangerous. They had become a symbol. Proof that the mighty council could bleed. "Recall all fleets," Vexthal ordered, his voice hollow. "Establish a quarantine around human space. No ship enters, no ship leaves." High Counselor, Admiral Korath 9's replacement, a younger cybernetic officer, ventured carefully. "The humans are attempting to establish communication. They're requesting—" "I don't care what they're requesting," Vexthal snapped. "The precursors were right. We should never have entered human space." As the Council fleet limped away from Sol system, one final human transmission reached their ships. "You are welcome to return when you come in peace. Until then, remember, we didn't start this war, but we'll damn sure finish it if you make us." The galactic community would spend the next century learning what the precursors had tried to warn them about. Humans don't just fight wars. They win them. And once they start winning, they don't stop until their enemies become their friends or cease to exist entirely. The warning had been clear. They simply hadn't listened.